Yes, hi Maneesha. How are you?
I'm good, Rajan. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Great. Thank you so much for taking time to be on this call. Was really looking
My
forward to
pleasure.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I think we both are, we have one common passion, customer experience, and it's great to be on this call to talk about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that, I also want to learn and curious to know about your CCXP journey. And for those who are watching, CCXP stands for Certified Customer Experience Professional. It's a very credible certification. And again, like many of the things that I know about Manisha, she's brings the diverse of human centricity and customer centricity. So CCXP is a very credible certification. How did you onboarded on that journey?
Okay, so for me, I would say that CCXP was actually a very natural progression because for topics of interest and research also for me were around services, marketing, service excellence, service operations. Customer experience was a very natural progression, and I was looking for a body of knowledge, which would bring it all together. And I think uh, CXP is perhaps the first organization which has tried to put a structure and a framework around it, I would say. So in that sense, I was naturally drawn towards it, and I wanted to get that conceptual clarity
Hmm.
also.
Right.
I wasn't sure whether whatever I was doing was enough, and so, the CFP is knowledge areas like customer experience strategy, your VOC, the metrics around it, even experience design, driving alignment, organizational alignment, and change management. All these topics, when it comes together, I think it becomes really meaningful. So for me, that is one of the biggest advantage of the CCXP certification. And like I said, for me, it was a very natural progression.
Right.
I was doing things, I was constantly reading, trying to find out the research. So for me, it was a very natural progression. And I think, Rajat, you are perhaps the first person, right, in India
Yeah,
to be
that's right. Thank you
certified.
for remembering
Yeah,
that. That's right. Yeah.
yeah. And when I started the journey, it was somewhere in 2016, and I didn't have a lot of reference
Hmm.
to
Right.
go about. But I did see that you were the first person, and that gave me a lot of confidence also.
Right.
And then I think I became the second person, and I did it in February
Wow.
2017.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I must say it did take, I would say, around 6 months of additional some reading,
6 months, you said?
6 months, six
Okay.
months of reading and following up on and off, of course,
Hmm.
apart from doing other things. Like I said, last before even I became a CCXP, 5 6 years I was following up on those topics, so it somehow came very naturally. Also.
Great. Great. Thank you. So I think thanks for answering that, bringing that uh, time period, because a lot of
Yeah.
people I speak to who has interest in getting certified, they have one common question. All of them is how long should we prepare, and
Mhm.
also the other thing they obviously like to know is how difficult or easy is the exam, and what should they do
Mhm.
to get this certification, even if they know from the framework, CXP framework, there are
Mhm.
6 competencies and there are some
Mhm.
indicative CCXP blueprint for the exam.
Mhm.
There is, of course, a huge surge in the demand of customer experience professionals. So we are seeing growing interest. At the
Mhm.
same time, CXP has not really made it easy. So somebody
Mhm.
who earns the CCXP credentials, they really have a both the strong conceptual understanding as well as relevant experience to demonstrate, right?
Mhm.
So want to know from you, what is it, if you have to guide potential aspirants who
Mhm.
want to become CCXP, what would you what would you tell them? What are the things that they should do?
Okay. So, firstly, let me say that, CXP is something that if you're trying to drive better customer experience within your organization, or even if you have a business and you want to improve on the customer experience, then definitely it's very useful. So apart from just looking from the point of credentials, if you can really look at the best practices, yeah, you can follow the research that is happening, the content that is there, out there, and there are some really good books and blogs and websites that offer um, a lot of great material. And if you can use that knowledge and experiment that within your own context, yeah, you can adapt it to your context with whichever industry you're working for, whichever business you're working for. If you can adapt it and then see how it improves your own customer experience, I think that's a great way to actually prepare to be a certified customer experience professional. Apart from that, I would say some really good books to follow or to read would be On Purpose, Outside In. I found those books very useful. There are some great blogs and research. There is the Temkin Group blog that is there. There is Clear Action. Um, there is Lynn Hunsaker, or there is Annette Franz blogs also. There are a lot of good books available on customer journey mapping or even design thinking, which I found really useful. So that is how I prepared, not only just reading, picking up good content, but also experimenting with some of these tools, techniques, ideas at work and in my own context, which I think also gives a lot of confidence. Apart from that, of course, from a credential point of view, you have to understand each of these topics, the weightage it has perhaps, and do some amount of practice also, which is very useful. But apart from that, I think what makes sense to me is gathering as much knowledge as possible and applying it in your context. I would say that's really key.
Wonderful. I think this was really gold. Thank you so much. I really liked the idea of, I think what you said kind of, because many people are practitioner and some of them have a conceptual understanding. But what the recipe that you talked about is, on one side, learn as much as you can from credible sources, and some of them you talked about, which is extremely helpful. And you also talked about applying it in the context. And in your journey, I hear you saying that you were also kind of experimenting, applying what you were learning, in your sphere of work, right?
Yeah.
So how, just on that, so how easy or difficult, what would you say? Is it something very, very difficult as per your, I know, I mean, not everybody will have a similar kind of experience, each one to their own, but would you have some inspiring, message in terms of people? Because sometimes I see, on the social conversation on, even on the CXP network site, that some people say it's really one of the most difficult exams. Do you really think so? What's your take on, is it something which can be easily, or how easy it is to achieve it?
Yeah. So, Rajat, to tell you very honestly, for me, the real benefit, I would say, was in the journey, rather than the certification. I think the knowledge that I gathered from a lot of people, including your posts also perhaps, posts by some of the CXP stalwarts, I think that was really I would say the best thing for me. Yeah, and then I would say the CXP came as a natural result of it. I wouldn't call it very difficult, but I would also say it's not very easy. Yeah, you have to have a background, you have to have some learnings, you need to apply it, you need to kind of experiment with it, and then I don't think it's going to be that difficult. But yes, definitely, it's not something that just anybody can easily just get certified. I don't think it is that.
Great. Yeah, I think very practical advice. Yeah, thank you. And I really like, and I also believe when I work with people, especially sometimes when we are helping,
Mhm.
coaching, mentoring people for
Mhm.
CCXP,
Mhm.
um, the and what you're saying, I've seen that happening is it is not the end outcome which is getting a
Yeah.
certificate, but it
Yeah.
is the journey. And
Journey.
after the process, whether they do self study or whether they learn from experts or mentors, eventually if somebody has reached there or even closer to the getting
Mhm.
certified,
Mhm.
which means if they have made one attempt or they've cleared it sometimes in the second attempt, the journey
Mhm.
itself has been very enriching. So
Enriching.
I think thank you for bringing that. This
Yeah.
is really gold.
Yeah.
Very, very
Yeah.
wonderful advice.
Yeah. And the other thing that I really find very useful is when I teach or share or coach or mentor uh, teams on customer experience, design thinking, I find myself also learning a lot from them, because when you
Mm,
share your knowledge and they apply it in their context and in their practical scenarios, and then the learnings that come out of that, I find that, again, very enriching. And that's something I would encourage all aspirants to also do is, the more you learn, if you can share it, and encourage people to apply those concepts practically, then your own knowledge also could definitely increase. Yeah.
yeah, again, I think another valuable piece of insight, because uh, when you start to deploy your
Yeah.
learnings and engage with the like-minded people,
Yeah.
then I think it's got a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And I have even
Absolutely.
seen, this is something, and that has been the kind of purpose of CXPA is
Hmm.
also to, enlighten that passion in
Yeah.
the people. And I think when people who are passionate about customer service, customer
Hmm.
experience, they get together when they're in the room, and now supported by a powerful framework including the culture aspects, there's some different kind of energy and synergy that
Energy.
happens, right? So
Yeah.
great, thank you. So moving on further on this, since you've been in this space, and I think your commitment is of course visible, and you
Hmm.
work with leading organization and also lead the quality uh, from the front. And what are the trends that you see in this area of customer experience for us to be aware of?
Yeah. So I would say, especially in this uncertain situation,
Yeah.
I personally think both customer experience as well as employee experience will become even more important. That's what I think. And of course, the focus on digital experiences, the situation will start to becoming more important. But apart from that, the ability to, even for big organizations, to act small for their customers, for their employees, and bring out the more human side of experiences. That's going to be very important. The ability to personalize the ability to a situation, or to the unique needs, and individualize those experiences. I think that's something that perhaps will become more important. So being able to make those strategic changes in the way you offer services, the way you could offer experiences for both customers as well as employees. The ability to be um, more, how can I put it, more empathetic in the
Mm,
situation. Yeah, I think that's going to be very important. So again, for organizations, the ability to drive that mindset employees, I think that's going to be key. So that's where I think, again, a formal body of knowledge, and add to it tools like design thinking, customer journey mapping. Those will play a big role going forward, definitely.
wow. Yeah, I think you very, very insightful um,
Yeah.
response. Thank you for this. So I think you've covered all, and especially I liked the dimension of employee experience, and you're saying
Yeah,
the way and the direction where the world is heading, these
yeah,
are going to be even more important.
important. Yeah,
So the kind of people
absolutely.
that yes, thank you. And so the kind of people that I've seen, even the sales marketing professionals, sometime there are dedicated customer experience professional that is also now evolving as a
Mhm,
separate stream. But whichever domain your function people are from,
mhm,
there is some element of
mhm,
customer
mhm.
experience in their work, day-to-day
Right.
engagement, right? So
Mm,
I think earlier days, I would say I would recall that few years back, this customer experience term was not even kind of almost non-existent. There
mhm,
were other ways of calling this, but
mhm.
this is now on everybody's agenda, right?
Right.
At the same time, really curious to know, and maybe people who would be
Mhm,
following you and this
mhm,
uh, video, I
mhm,
would really want to know and want you to share what do you see as a
mhm,
future of
mhm.
those who really go and are passionate about customer experience in terms of growth, career prospects. How do you see people with CX skills growing in the future business
Uh,
environment?
yeah, a very good question actually, Rajat. I think customer experience is the way to move forward. Not just customer experience, but like I said, also employee experience. And people who understand this area and have adopted those mindsets, I think will be very valuable to organizations. The ability to think from customers' point of view, employees' point of view. Those who have probably as part of their CC also understood the best practices, yeah, or the case studies that come with it from some of the best in class organizations. I think having that knowledge, understanding how strategy impacts, yeah, how employee engagement, building a customer centric culture impacts, how important it is to understand the voice of customer and making sure that you um, not only just hear the voice of the customer, but you act on it. You turn around situations. I think people who understand some of these basic concepts and who are able to act accordingly in the context of their organizations or even in the context of their own businesses are going to be very valuable for going forward. I think that's really important, even in business. I think this should be a very important topic.
Agree.
Yeah,
Yes, right, right.
the ability to drive change with the customer in context, the ability
Hmm.
to drive change with the employee's experience in context. I think that's going to be very valuable.
Great, great. Yeah. Insightful. I think, I mean, the way I'm hearing you,
Yeah,
almost like this could be one of the top skills or
yeah,
capabilities and competencies to
yeah,
have. It may
yeah.
be today, but all the more important, and
Important.
depending on
Mhm.
how you
Yeah,
bring forth and how you add value through this,
good.
right?
Yeah. The ability to drive change in the organization with this knowledge, these competencies, I think is crucial.
Right, right, right. Great. So I think one question, I think probably we'll start to wrap up in,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's been very engaging conversation, and I know uh, we have other plans, but one thing I really want to know from
Mm-hmm.
you is, do you really, what do you think
Mm-hmm.
CCXP kind of certifications, therefore, whatever you've shared so far,
Mm-hmm.
is it worth the effort?
Like I said, CCXP definitely provides a good conceptual framework, and I have not seen that elsewhere. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in that sense, CCXP is valuable, I would say. But at the same time, I would say don't stop at CCXP. Yeah. Keep acquiring other things, other knowledge, which will support you in that journey of
Mm,
becoming a change agent on customer experience, employee experience,
mm,
design thinking, practicing that, finding as many opportunities as possible to actually implement those tools and techniques and see how it's working in your industry, sharing that knowledge, I think that will go a long way. And that, in that sense, it's really worth the effort, I would say.
Worth the effort.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Great. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, so we kind of coming to the end of our discussion. So any concluding message that you have for people who would be who are going to listen to you as a leader in the industry and passionate about customer and employee experience? It could be, you know, from diverse a range of people who could be aspiring CX professionals, who could be even students, or who could be even senior leaders in the organizations. So, any final message?
I would recommend CX, who, you know, all those who are interested in this area, not just from the point of earning credentials, but acquiring knowledge. Like I said, please just go ahead, read up on those 6 areas of CXP. Yeah, and if you are seeking credential, definitely go for CXP. But just going through those knowledge areas, finding the knowledge and the body of knowledge and the best practices in the industry in a more focused way, I think will definitely expand your perspective. Many a times, we see only the end results. We see the CSAT surveys, yeah, we see the NPS scores, but there's a lot that goes behind, organizations which are really customer centric. A lot of hard work. There's a lot of thought that has gone beyond those organizations in terms of employee engagement, in terms of having a clear strategy in terms of customer experience. Understanding that, I think, is something that each one of you will find very helpful and useful also. So for that reason, definitely go ahead and find out more about and what. So, yeah.
Amazing. Maneesha, I learned so much, though I've been in this space, but talking to you is really very inspiring. And I think I feel blessed to have got the opportunity to speak to you about this subject, which even, I am passionate, both employee customer experience. Thank you so much for taking out time and agreeing to be on this conversation on CX and CX related concepts.
Completely my pleasure, Rajat. And happy if I can contribute in any way to any of y'all, I would be very glad to do that and share, whatever my learnings are. I would definitely like to.
Yes, we look forward to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much.